What's up, everybody? It's your favorite figure that they love to make's favorite nerd. And we're back with yet another Optimus Prime. This one is Takara Tomi's movie masterpiece take on loan to me from Andrew C. Much appreciated. Ironically, Paul C. hit me up and asked me if I wanted to take a look at this also, and he already had me covered, so I appreciate you. It's also nice to just not have to say Robert D. every time. But with that being said, I do want to take a look at this guy. I'm actually pleasantly surprised with my first impressions of him right out of the box, so we'll have to see if those continue. But in order to do that, we got to talk about accessories, or in this case, accessory. So what good is a Prime without his iconic weapon? And it looks pretty good. It's sculpted nicely, not a lick of paint on it, so that's kind of a bummer. And then you can fold it up and have it stuck together, which we'll show here in a bit. But he can hold it just fine with the tabbing into the palm of his hand in typical masterpiece fashion. When the gun is folded up, you can plug it into the back which seems really goofy because you have this space that would probably be better off for it. And I mean, you can sit it in there and that will at least solve part of it if you just have it, you know, sitting on a shelf or whatever. Maybe if it even goes that way. Yeah, that way's even better. But yeah, not the best storage there, especially when you have the space. And to be fair, I guess he has a second accessory, but to me, it's honestly more of a gimmick at this point. But if you open up his chest, there is a matrix in it. The matrix has some gold paint on it, as well as this turquoise paint. The handle is wide enough for him to hold it as well. So a couple of things were at least thought out regarding it, which is nice. And it does have some die cast in it, it feels like. It might be all die cast, honestly. Now let's talk about the figure, and we'll start with the head sculpt. It is nice, however, could use some paint on the eyes instead of the light piping. Such a rookie mistake. And they could have even left the light piping in if they would have just decided to paint it. It would have fixed all of their problems in regard to how lifeless he now appears. Or as my baby, my 5-year-old, will say, he looks dead inside. It's a fact. She says stuff like that all the time. All right, but paint-wise, I don't think there's any. There's 2 different shades of blue plastic here. I think that's a purposeful choice. Like the ears are a lighter color blue. They're also a softer plastic, so it could be accidental, so they don't break. And then you have the silver on the face, which might be painted. Head is on a ball peg. The ball peg is connected to this neck piece, which is on a hinge. So you can get down and up and the swivel. No real side to side. For the chest, I think the red is painted. Yes, because it's a translucent plastic. All of this is translucent. So the red is painted on, which is nice, and the red down here is painted on. And you have a waist swivel in tons of sculpted detail. And it still has its shape, like it's still identifiable, which is partly from the movie design from Bumblebee, which did a little bit better job, and partly because of just how they blocked it out here. But either way, it works. For the shoulders, you have a universal joint. This panel here will actually get out of the way as you go to move the universal, and that'll get you 90 degrees out to the side on a ratchet, a hard ratchet at that, and then you get a swivel around. You also get a bit of a butterfly joint. You get more back than you do forward, but it is there. And I think that's it. You got some white paint there, as well as the Tampa Autobot symbol. The smokestacks are a softer plastic as well. I'm not sure if they're supposed to be bent or not. I'm guessing they are, but this one's inserted wrong if it is. So either way, a little less than desirable. Then you have this gray style plastic here. It looks like it actually might have a wash on it, which is nice, but it does look cheap compared to the rest of it. Like, it looks more like general retail stuff, where the rest of it kind of has more of a premium look and feel, I'll be honest. But you get a bicep swivel. You get a double jointed, it's not double jointed. It's single jointed elbow, but it is ratcheted. The other joint works this way. I just wonder if you swivel that around. No, because then the forearm doesn't swivel back. So disregard. And then you get some nice paint detailings and sculpt stuff down here, as well as the yellow Tampa paint there, which looks good. Red on the forearm looks good. And then we have the wrist. they swivel on the mushroom peg, as you can see. Thumb is on a ball peg, and the fingers are on a base pin knuckle. The index finger is individually articulated, but it is hardcore typewriter fingers, like just ridiculous looking, which is a bit unfortunate. Otherwise, good to go. Then we move on to the hips. We do have some hip skirts. They'll get up and out of your way. All around. And we have more ratcheted joints. Ratcheted out to the side for the full Van Damme. Ratcheted forward and back for the full Monty. We have a single hinged knee that is also ratcheted. This guy is far more stable than, say, the Takara Tomy Starscream offering. The silver on the legs looks good. I don't know if it's the wash or something on the plastic, but there's like variations in it. It's not swirly, but there is some sort of life to it. And it looks similar to the bicep, but for whatever reason, the bicep just has a different vibe to it. Everything else looks pretty good down in the lower legs. As far as the ankles go, you get an ankle tilt down, it's ever so slight. You get an ankle tilt up, it's ever so slight. You get a pretty good rocker, so that's nice. And I think that's it. There he is from the back, pretty clean. It's not a bad figure, honestly. I'm surprised at how much I don't hate it, if that makes sense. Size comparison wise, there he is with the Magic Square Prime, so pretty much the size of a Masterpiece scaled Prime, like on par, so that's cool. So let's get him transformed. I realized what this deco is on the metal is dry brushed silver over top of the gray plastic, but it's kind of effective if you don't look at it too long. I looked at it too long, now I wish I hadn't. Open up these flaps here on the back of the forearm and the hands. Make sure they're balled up in a fist, but have the thumb on top, and tuck them in. Just because you had so much of a good time doing that the first time, you deserve to do it one more again. On the back of the figure, there's a back plate. Untab that and bring out this front piece. And then on the sides where the wheels are connected, you're going to want to flip them down just to get them out of the way, so that you can spin the top part of the chest so that the cab starts to align. Then you have to untab this piece, which is like his butt flap, so that the crotch will come around and tab into the abdomen. And I'll be honest with you, some of the plastics here are a little on the softer side, which isn't a huge deal, but it does make tabbing some parts in a little bit more challenging. Then you can flip down this piece, and those pieces will come along with it. And then you can get the wheels out of the way too. You gotta kind of get them in a position that makes sense. But we're not quite there yet. But we're just gonna get them out of the way for one, but also kind of in the right place. All right, then take this piece, spin it, flip it over top, and take this piece, flip it down, take the wheels. There's a bunch of stuff you gotta do around here. Take this thing here, it forms the bumper. Where does that go? There, that piece of hole spin out and kind of keep straight. Take this piece here, this blue piece on the back of the calf, flip that down. That'll allow you to flip this up, which reveals this metal fuel tank. Bring that around until the female can meet with the male on this side. And then once you've got that, you can flip this piece over top. This piece comes all the way up. Then fold the foot up and then rock it towards the inside of the leg. Bring the wheels down to this side, but spin the front tire around until it locks in underneath on that leg. And we're just gonna do that one more again. So take this up, spin it around, flip it back down. Flip this piece down. This also has some silver dry brushing on it. Flip this blue piece down. Flip the tire out, which will expose the fuel tank, which will come around and plug into the hip skirt. Then you can flip this piece up. You can flip the blue piece up as far as it will go. You can flip the foot up. Remember to straighten out your bumper here. And then once again, collapse the foot towards the inside of the truck. Take the wheels towards the front, but spin the back wheel towards, or the front wheel towards the back, and now you've done the same thing on the other side. Now you can connect the two giant tabs that are on the lower legs, and in the process of doing so, it will also bring the bumper together. You can bring this up and over, and you can tuck the head inside of that cavity. Now, the front windows are on a sliding bar. It's kind of subtle. It's right there, but that will help you line it up with the front of your grill here. You can flip this piece up. You can flip this piece over. And flip this piece back. At this point, you can make sure that your tab is lined up properly with the inside of there so that your wheel will line up right. You want to twist your bicep swivel 180 and then straighten this out. And as you move the shoulder around, this should feel somewhat familiar. This piece will come to the inside and sit underneath. I gotta do some cleaning up here, but you get the general point. And then this piece will come down, right? Yes. This piece will fold forward, but it's on 3 separate hinges. So just line it up and make that work, and then make sure that this is all sitting nicely at the back, and your smokestack is supposed to face the back, but mine, where it plugs into this, too tight. And I missed a step. This piece comes down and tabs in both in the front of the cab, and there's a peg that tabs into this piece here. So let's go ahead and do that again. We're gonna make sure that our wheel is lined up right. We can tab that in now and secure it to the front of the truck. We can rotate our bicep 180, and then as we bring this to the back, this is going to come around to the front and should feel very familiar. And just finagle that in there. There's not a lot of room for margin for error with this section of it, but just keep at it. There's a large tab here at the top of the gray that'll plug into the translucent window, and once you've got that, you're pretty much good to go. And then I say that and then can't get it, but there, boom. As soon as it goes into that space there, then you're home free pretty much. This comes down, you can see where that tab fits in, and then this is on those 3 hinges back. You know, see, this one moves much freer. Let's see here. There. Tab, male, female, male, female. And then we won't forget this time to flip this down. Female. Oh, nope, not this one. Female, male, male, female. Boom. And then our last steps are these 2 panels here in the back. If you flip them up and interlock them and push them up, I did it the first time. God bless it. But they'll come up and lock into place. And then you have these 2 tabs here and this, and then it also needs to fit with the blue on the legs here, but you want this side to be the part, and I am not crazy about this being the last step, but there ish. missed it, but I'll get it cleaned up and we'll take a look at it. So there it is. I think it's okay. I think it's okay. I don't know what the bat wings are all about here. That seems unfinished to me, especially when, like, if they were hinged, you could just flap them down. Like, this color's out of sorts, you know, and you have extra red here, so it seems like there's something you could have done there. I don't know. I'm not an engineer of this stuff. I'm just somebody who spends money on it and wants it to look good. You know what I mean? There's this big gap that we talked about with the accessories here that's a little bit unsightly. And that's about it. The rest of it looks pretty good. It's panely, but I'm okay with that. The white paint is pretty sharp. They left the metal, just metal, and didn't paint that at all, but I think it works. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The front here is airbrushed. Like, the white is airbrushed, which is, like, it looks cool from the front. Very nice and thoughtful approach. But from the side, it gets really dirty here and then really clean again. Stuff like that drives me nuts. Also, if you want to, like, these things, right? Like, this is obviously all the same thing. Silver, nah, not down here. Not down here. We painted over them down here. Up here, silver. Down here, not so much. Autobot symbols look good. The silver on the smokestacks looks good. And that's it. So, like, kind of a mixed bag, but we've certainly seen worse. And there he is next to Tiger Tracks. Final thoughts wise, we'll start with the negatives. The negatives mainly for me are the alt mode, is the aesthetics, the little wings at the top. In addition to that, the gaps between the legs when you have the huge blaster, so to speak, that you could have put there and solved the problem. Also, some of the paint deco choices in regard to the truck doesn't make any sense. Silver some parts, other parts not. Some parts are dirty and kind of shaded, other parts aren't. I appreciate the effort. It's just perhaps a bit misguided. Normally, I would gig them for the sloppy silver dry brushing on the legs, and make no mistake, it's not perfect. However, because it's such a subtle difference between the gray plastic and the shade of silver that they chose, it's not hateful. We've seen far worse. As you saw in this video, it took me a minute to even recognize it. So I'm of two minds regarding it, but I don't hate it. I do hate the fingers. They're dumb. If he can't point, he's pretty much worthless. I would rather have swap out hands than these type of hands. Me personally. Also, light piping for the face, for the head's dumb. Super stupid. They're better than this. They know they're better than this, and they still chose not to be, which is unfortunate. Positives wise though, I quite enjoy the transformation. It does have enough paint on it to make it visually interesting and nice looking. There's ratchets throughout, so the build quality is strong. The materials feel good. You got die cast pieces, so you got build materials and deco all kind of working out. The majority of the articulation is in there. The transformation is pretty enjoyable. The sculpt isn't my cup of tea, but it's done well. And it doesn't go overboard with accessories, but it gives you the bread and butter that you need. So yeah, I think it's a pretty good piece, man. I think it's better than Starscream. And I enjoyed the process of it more than I have a lot of the straight-to-car Tomy Masterpiece stuff recently. The stuff that hasn't been working in concert with Hasbro. So yeah, it's a recommend for me. I would have liked more paint, but not the biggest deal in the world. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.